Hey guys, what is up? Well, I guess it's Spartan time. Let's go. Why, hello there. It is Spartan time indeed, and we're taking a look at the Greek city-states roster. So, what do we have here? Well, I can tell you what we have here. We have a faction that is very strong in missiles and infantry, but that is extremely weak when it comes to cavalry, and that's what you're gonna see in the battle that should be starting sometime now. And of course, I'm gonna be talking now unit by unit. We're gonna be taking a look at their units, and then I'm gonna give you the final verdict and their tier. Okay, okay, guys. So let's start with the Cretan archers. Now, the Cretan archers, of course, as you know, they are a pretty good unit. It has already appeared in other rosters, such as the Macedonian roster. And they have 6 attack, 4 defense, 3 charge, and 11 missile attack. They're pretty good. I think cost quality wise, they are one of the best units in the game, if not the best missile unit in the game. I do prefer the Pharaoh's Bowmen, even though they are about 100 more denarii than the Cretan archers. Then we have the Rhodian Slingers. The Rhodian Slingers are a good unit. They are 80 denarii cheaper than the Cretan archers. They have 9 missile attack. They have a little bit more defense, which means they will hold on a little bit longer in melee combat, but they have one problem, which is they are still a missile unit, so they will not hold for long either way. Anyway, then we have the siege equipment. I am not going to talk about the siege equipment at all here because it doesn't really matter for custom battles, for multiplayer battles. It doesn't really matter the artillery, even though they have access to ballistas and heavy onagers as well as onagers. So, you know, they're a good faction. If you're going to play on the campaign, they're a good faction as far as artillery goes. They have good options. Now we have the militia cavalry, and this unit for the Greeks, you know, I don't really like militia cavalry. I don't really use it. The militia cavalry is actually an important cavalry unit for the Greeks. They have 6 attack, 6 defense, 3 charged, and they have 6 missile attack. And why are they important? Because they are fast moving, and they can pepper enemy cavalry with their javelins, which is, you know, it can be effective against lightly armored calves, not as effective against very armored calves like the cataphracts, for example. But this is something that the Greeks have that they might need, since their melee cav is so weak. Speaking of which, I'm not going to talk about the general as well. The general is just like the Seleucid general. Wait, is it? Let's see. Seleucid general. Yes, just like the Seleucid general, as I was saying. So I'm not going to be talking about them. They're a good cav unit, but not great. Like the Roman general, the Carthaginian generals, they are better, for example. Anyway, let's go. Greek cavalry, guys. Greek cavalry are a cheap cavalry unit that has 6 attack, 8 defense, 5 charge. They are bad. I think that's the only words that I have to describe them. They're bad. Most factions will be able to have a early game cavalry unit that will defeat the Greek cav, unless they are Greeks and they have Greek cav, of course. But barbarian cav beats Greek cav, equites beats Greek cav, round shield cav beats Greek cav. So most cavalry units will beat them. A sip of coffee. Anyway, then we have the incendiary pigs. Incendiary pigs are one use only anti-elephant, anti-scythed chariot unit. It's well, not very useful. You know, just take some archers and hit those scythed chariots and elephants with fire arrows. It will be maybe not as effective, but the end result will be the same. And you can use them against other units as well. Incendiary pigs, it's just one use only. They're pretty cheap, but I wouldn't take them, to be honest. Now we have the heavy peltasts, guys. Heavy peltasts are pretty good unit because they can they can actually take part in the melee of the battle because they have 11 defense. Alright, they're fast moving, so after you discharge all of your javelins, you can just go around the enemy and attack them on the back. So these guys might actually be a good addition to your Greek armies. They will then be very, very, very weak to cavalry anyway, so you need to take that into account. Alright, they have some advantages like hiding in tall grass, combat bonus in the woods, just like every other missile unit, fast moving, bonus versus elephants and chariots. So yeah, definitely, these are not, you know, you shouldn't scoff at this unit. Anyway, then we have the unit of archers, of course, 3 attack, 2 defense, 1 charge, 7 missile attack. Usual archer unit that every faction that has the basic archer unit has this archer unit. So yeah, nothing to tell you about these guys. And the peltist is exactly the same: 3 attack, 4 defense, 1 charge, 6 missile attack. They're peltists. Alright, they're peltists. They are the basic peltist unit that most factions have. Anyway, now things get interesting, and because I want to finish with the strongest units, I'm going to start with the peasants. Peasants have 1 attack, 1 defense, 1 charge. Yeah, no, don't use them. Anyway, then we have militia hoplites. Militia hoplites are bad. You know, the same as the Seleucid empires, the same as the Macedonians, the same as the Thracians. They're bad. They're a bad unit all around. As soon as you can, stop using them. That's what I have to tell you about these guys. And then we have the hoplites. 7 attack, 16 defense, 3 charge. These guys are a decent melee unit. They have the phalanx, which is pretty good. They have a bonus against cav. They do well against infantry as well. So, you know, if the infantry comes at them from the front, right? If they come from the flanks or the back, then you are wrecked. I am so sorry. They don't have the good morale trait, so probably they will break if they get overwhelmed. But they're a decent unit, decent early to mid game unit, and then your mid game, your mid game to late game is gonna be made with armored hoplites. These armored hoplites are a really good unit. Okay, they can hold for ages. They have 9 attack, 22 defense, 4 charge. These guys will be the backbone of your Greek army, and they are really good. You're gonna see that in the battle that's going on in the back. I mean, if it hasn't ended yet or something like that. And then of course, the great, the legendary, the magnificent Spartan Hoplite unit. These guys are amazing. They have 16 attack, 17 defense, 4 charge. So as far as stat goes, you might, oh, they're not amazing, but they have 2 hit points, guys. So it's the same thing as you have 320 men, but only 160 can attack at a time. But you still have the 320 men, right? Sip of coffee. Anyway, that is pretty much it. So the Spartan Hoplites are right up there with the Sacred Band. You know, they're actually better than the Sacred Bands from the Carthaginians. You know, they are probably on par with the urban cohorts from the Romans. Yeah, and these guys are really good, okay? They still break. They have very good morale. They have excellent morale. They still break. They don't have as much armor as the armored hoplites, and that's their only weakness. It's their armor. They don't have as good armor as the other hoplites. So they are susceptible to missile fire, and you can actually take a lot of those hit points away from them by raining arrows on them. So that's definitely dangerous. So now that we have taken a look at all of the units of the Greek roster, right? What tier should the Greeks be? Now, as I said, very strong missiles, very strong infantry, very weak cav. Alright. You know, that makes sense, right? As we've seen right here. So they can be, for example, an A tier. Could they be an A tier faction? Well, I don't think so, right? Cav, I think I would rate cav a D tier. I would rate infantry A tier for sure. You know, they're just not very mobile, very maneuverable, so that's kind of tough. And their missiles are an S tier missile roster for sure. With the Cretans and the Rhodians, they have to be S tier, to be fairly honest. And the heavy peltists as well. So the thing is that neither the missiles nor the infantry will be good at taking on cavalry fights from the back, especially. Like, if your enemy, which like 90% of the factions will have better cav than you. I think only the Thracians are on par with the Greeks in terms of cav. So every single other faction will be able to defeat the Greeks, the Greek cav, and they will be able to just swarm the missiles with their cav. So our great missile roster, our S tier missile roster, will actually fall short simply because the enemy cav will be able to get there soon enough. If you don't do any noob boxes or any corner camping, right, the enemy cav will be able to get there and defeat your missiles fairly easily, you know, cutting their damage potential to probably half of what it could be. And then your infantry can be swarmed by infantry on the front and cavalry on the back, and that can be a really, really tough situation. You know, and this is why, like, even though we have an S tier missiles, even though you have A tier infantry, these tiers will go down because the Greeks don't have any way of protecting their flanks with the maneuverable and easy to use a strong maneuverable unit on the flanks that they can use to protect against cav and outflanking. They don't have that, so they are very weak to that, and they will usually have to use terrain features or edges of the battlefield in order to protect their flanks, and that is very cheesy. I like that, but that is cheesy, and that's not something you should be doing. So let's just assume you're fighting a fair fight. And so, I think that, for example, the missiles would go down to an A tier, the infantry would go out to a B tier, even though they have the Spartan Hoplites. But even Spartan Hoplites, they break, alright? Just because their cav is straight up a D tier. It's the worst thing ever. So what is the tier of the Greeks? I still think the Greeks are pretty strong against the barbarians. You just need to be able to negate that cav to the enemy, which is hard to do with the Greeks, but they have such good infantry, they have such good missiles, that I think, despite not being able to be an A tier, guys, the Greeks will be a B tier on the battlefield, and that is what I think about the Greeks. Alright, B tier on the battlefield. Now, if you disagree, feel free to comment. If you think this was good, if you think this was insightful, please, you know, let me know in the comments, like the video, share it with your Rome Total War nerdy friends, such as us, and yeah, let's have some fun in Total War. I'll see you guys on the next episodes, and stay cool, stay frosty.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much.